Welcome back. Kyle, give me your intro. You hear how I have to do on Good Morning Nasdaq. Talk fast and just do a 20-second intro. Go.
Hey everybody, welcome to Wine Wednesday here. We got Kyle, myself, Huddy, myself, Dom, myself, and Jack, myself.
Nicknames.
We got Jebediah, we got Randy, and we got Eisenhower.
Nice.
An hour.
That's got to be
Don't-
Jack.
Yeah, I don't know who Eisenhower is, but
No, that's Heidi.
welcome.
I got the aviator jacket, so I'm Eisenhower.
Mm-hmm.
There we
Exactly.
go. Make sure everyone can hear us. Give us a couple of yeses or a couple of W's in the chat.
Get a fan in here. There is a fan. How do you turn that on?
Do you have your AC on? It's a little hot and
I
sweaty
swear
over
it
there.
doesn't work in this room. I got cords running down the vent to go to the basement. Ethernet cord or whatever. Maybe that's screwing it up. I just come in here and I see my face and it's so red. And I'm like, I haven't even had a sip of wine yet. It's going to get worse.
Well, I think the first step would be taking off your long sleeve shirt.
You don't want that. Only
Could
Roland
help.
wants that. He wants me shirtless with a fishing pole. I don't got any undershirts. We're rolling with what we got.
Alrighty, perfect. Everyone can hear us. Ben calls the guy in the bottom right an egg. Sounds like you, Kellogg.
Me? I'm not the bottom right.
Yeah, you are. On my
Oh,
screen.
I'm top. I'm top right.
Nope, not for you, not for us.
Huh.
Ben knows what he's talking about.
Who said that?
Ben,
Oh.
Mr. Benjamin.
Oh, Mr. Benjamin. Okay.
Michael
I
wants
thought it
to
was
know
some
if we'll
random
ever
person.
do Weed Wednesday. We can't because we have Kyle as a friend.
Nemo said Protein Wednesday. That's funny.
No way. Somebody said Weed Wednesday.
People, I think either Michael or someone's been saying Weed Wednesday for a long
I've
time.
heard that since the start of it.
I have no problem against weed. You can do Weed Wednesday.
I feel like it's like more
Why
like a
don't we
marijuana
get?
Monday.
Actually, I'm not gonna say that. Kyle. I think you know what I was gonna say.
I don't
Yeah.
actually know.
No.
You
Okay.
could just get Kelly to
That's
like
it.
grind up some weed chocolate, put it in like his protein shake.
I gotta be honest, guys. I've had an edible and I really didn't feel much. I was like, this is it.
This
Oh,
is
gotta
trust
up
me.
the
Like,
dose.
this is it. This is all it is. Like it doesn't hit me that hard. To be honest.
That's a
I don't
scary
know
thing to
about
do with
that.
edibles, Dom.
What?
Like feel like you got to up the dose because it's not hitting you, and then all of a sudden you're in
Well,
a
I swear they all are different. It doesn't matter what the number says. There's so much more that goes into whether it works or not and how much.
yeah.
I hate edibles. I feel like I'm gonna die.
I-
I will never do an edible.
I can't stand it because there's like the time frame is set to where it's gonna be 3 or 4 hours till you come down. So if it's bad, it's bad. But if like you smoke, it's like 20 minutes. If you're anxious, you're having a panic attack. In 20 minutes, I will feel better. In 20 minutes, I will feel better. If
And
you
that
can't
20
do that.
minutes never comes.
No, that happened in Vegas with me and Huddy, and I thought I was dying.
It was not fun,
Yeah, for me, you just had to try to sleep.
which was not easy.
Yeah, because I thought I was dying.
So we kind of left Good Morning Nasdaq this today saying that we're kind of cooling it on the market. Jack was saying there's a couple plays to kind of take some liquidity, extract some liquidity out of the market this morning, but it seemed like a pretty dull day until we actually do have a runner in the after hours right now that was to some degree playable. But what did you guys do today? How was the day? How was the morning? What was the trader lifestyle like today on a day that we all kind of took it easy?
I took it easy on TPST. Had about half size at most. Ended up making a couple grand. And then after that, I took a nap. I actually took a nap. I set my alarm, which didn't go off, and so I slept about an hour or so over. And by the time I woke up, it was like into the close, roughly, ish. So, yeah, pretty much missed the end of the day, but I don't have any FOMO. It just kind of ended how I thought it would end, which was just either me wasting my time looking at screens or doing something else, and I overslept my alarm. So that was that.
And
Had a little bit of
I
lazy
feel
day
like
today.
I feel like that's totally a West Coast thing to do. Like you wake up at 5, 6 a.m. So like a nap after like the market looks dull is very appealing. It's like what? It's 8 a.m. still, 7:30, and you're like, yeah.
I
Get back
just,
to the other thing.
I think for me, like after having all that, like I don't know about you guys, but I get a hell of a lot of adrenaline when I trade. Like my veins are pumping when I'm trading. I would not be able to fall asleep after. I'm just like too amped up about. If I made money, I'll probably just be amped up about it, and if I lost money, I'll just be like, damn, whatever. But there's just too much adrenaline going on for me, so I don't know how Kyle does that.
I don't know. I just do. just in the midday. I'm like, yep. If I don't know. It's like I'm a pretty good napper. I can fall asleep if I just give myself a few minutes. And so, yeah. Once I know there's nothing out there, I just go to my bed, and before you know it, I'm asleep. So
Dominic, you saw your boat guy?
Yeah, I let Jack get in my head a little too much over the last day, telling me that breakouts suck, they don't work. He even said it today on ICU, like bragging about it, like thank God we didn't look at that one. What a failure!
It pulled from 80 cents to 60 to be fair. That's quite a significant pull.
Yeah, and held the key 60.
It did.
The
And
first day
I
it
mean,
didn't close
I
at
wanted to
60.
talk about this. I wanted to talk about this one. I feel like why it worked is because I was one of those longs who got exhausted from breakouts. Like I
Who
was the
didn't trade it?
guy, yeah, I was the guy who didn't trade it. I talked to another trader, very prominent trader that everybody knows, one of the best. He didn't
Then
trade
yeah,
it. You know, Dom's not trading it, Kyle's not trading it, Huddy's not trading it. Nobody's trading it.
I have a position.
Okay, Huddy has a position, whatever.
that he believed
But
in so much that he alerted it.
exactly right. That's kind of shows it. But and then with the high offerings and the dilution tracker looking very red, very, very red, and having that pull from 80 to 60 cents, no longs trusted it. And if anything, shorts got in. And then it kind of pushed, I feel like, and longs got in. And then I mean it even like shook them out with a death candle in after hours, but it's just really not one that I missed that I'm too disappointed in. In hindsight, if breakouts were working, we probably all would have made money on that, buying it and just swinging it overnight, making probably like 30 cents a share. But is what it is,
I
I'll
think the
take it.
main thing here was volume. Generally speaking, it's easy to kind of ignore a breakout, especially in markets that aren't really yielding a lot of breakout success, a lot of continuation, a lot of day ones leading to day twos with big gap ups and morning spikes, which we have kind of seen a lack of recently, pretty much since the summer, I feel like, with their tups and tattoos, Nicolas. Um, but the main differentiator here was just the massive volume. Like ICU bounced back last week, and yeah, I put it back on watch, and it was interesting bouncing into the 60s. But even looking at that volume, it was super light, not really all that appealing. But right out of the gate today, I think it did 80 million by like 11 or 12. I think it was 11. And it was very clear that it definitely had the juice. Where that was coming from, I don't know. Um, but that is something that I'm definitely trying to work more on, is trying to ignore charts that look good but don't have volume and focus on ones that are more in play. And ICU definitely you
Had the
know
volume, had the
yeah, once
daily
you got
chart.
rid of, once you decided whether or not how much you carried into the dilution, how much you wanted to play into the fact that breakouts haven't really worked all that well. Volume was the key one, and it continued to hold. It only spent, I don't have view up on this chart, but after that poll, it kind of went right back to holding that 65 to 70 area. And once it kind of perked through, it was all she wrote.
Happens. It was a great hindsight trade, right?
Oh, yeah.
hit one in after hours. Lovely. Look at it go. I'm excited to short it, guys. I don't know about you. I don't
I'm
really care that I
very
missed a
excited to
long.
short it.
I just hope this thing goes to, I don't know, 125, 150. Maybe gets wild hits too, but I don't think. I mean, gosh, hit two tomorrow, that'd be really crazy. But anyways, what are we drinking? We kind of skipped that part. How are we
Oh yeah,
doing?
let me show this one first. So this one has
Moonshine.
zero label
No label.
because actually my mom made this wine for me and gave it to me a few months ago, so I've been saving it for the right night. So cheers to my mom.
What kind is it?
I don't know, she made it.
You made it.
What does it
Yeah,
smell like?
like wine.
Nice.
It's a good start.
Very nice white wine, yeah.
I got some thicket, which is supposed to taste like thickets, I guess. There's a lot of research on here about birds and what they like. But it's a 2018 California red wine from Napa Valley. Thicket.
Never heard of it, but sounds good.
Me neither.
Are they saying birds like that wine?
I think they're saying birds like thickets. As the chestnut-sided warbler, the wren, and the common yellowthroat. They nest in the dense shrubbery and enjoy the fruit and berries. So I think it's
Gotcha.
just like it's a metaphor.
Got it. All right.
Um,
Huddy?
Let me see.
What do we got? We got Parducci today, a Cabernet from Mendocino. Yeah, that's what we picked.
California.
Hoodie.
Yeah, California.
I want to show you this hoodie really quick.
What you got?
I ordered this one online. Do you know of it?
It's gonna say
Just read it to
Camus.
me. I mean, it looks familiar. The yellow label does. Camus?
Yeah,
No,
that's
Yeah.
pretty.
look, I'm not like the weed or the wine.
That's a
connoisseur
pretty
you think I am.
mainstream one, Jack. Kemper
Yeah.
loves it. That's his favorite one.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we were in Vegas a couple years ago, I think
It's
it
a
normally sells for
2021 Camus from Napa Valley.
it's like $100 or less, and they were charging like 300 to 500 for a bottle of it at a Vegas steakhouse. It's
Yeah,
like,
I
get a
bought it
life.
for like $89.
Yeah.
So I'm
He loves
excited
it
to
though.
try it.
Tell him you got it.
Yeah. I thought, well, Dom knew. I guess Dom's more the connoisseur, hoodie. I'll have to ask Dom next time.
Look, I just know my French wines and my Italian wines.
Dom is the Napa Valley guy.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I can show you pictures.
Well, I'm a little bit lame this week. No wine. I
Protein
had a
shake
wine
here.
bottle, but it was just too big for me to feel like I was gonna even dent it today. So I was like, that's more for like a party. It's like a big bottle. But I do have leftover seltzers. So we have a very basic lemonade.
Ew,
Truly.
are those the lemonade, the
Lemonade
really
Trulies.
sugary ones?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't mind White Claw. I actually had some White Claws in there as well. I had a variety, like a high noon. I had a variety from a previous little boating event a couple weeks ago. But I just picked one, and here we are. Truly.
You'll have 3 or 4 of those probably.
Yeah, these are easily
Those are addicting.
finished than a full bottle of wine. So
All right. Quick, I know Kyle, since he's supposed to be running, hasn't even said it once, and we're 15 minutes in. Very discouraged right now by the like numbers. 23 on 65 total watching. That's like a 33% ratio. We hold ourselves to a high standard here, and we like to keep it above 50%. So we will not answer any more questions until that gets to 32.5.
I love
32.5 is the number.
I secretly don't say it because I like when Dom does it because he just his creativity with how he.
You see
starts
how
his sentences.
fast that happened? Ask and you shall receive.
Honestly,
And
every time he says it, I actually end up liking it too. So it's pretty
Yeah, I mean, he gets me. I just liked it.
That's what I learned when I watch like all these successful YouTube channels and stuff. Like, if they remind you to do something that will help them, and you truly like their channel, and it's free content, like it costs you nothing just to click the button. So it's like we're all just lazy people. Just click it.
And then
Yeah, but
and
like,
then
is it
also-
helping us? Is it really
also-
helping us?
How would I know?
It
They
definitely
they
does.
wouldn't ask. The real YouTubers wouldn't ask if it didn't help, right?
Right.
It definitely helps.
That's the math I'm mathing with. They're asking for a reason.
I'm watching too much YouTube. When I spent
I
a few
do.
days at Dom's house, all he would watch is good golf. Then he'd put
Depends
on
on the season.
then he'd put on college football,
Highlights.
podcasts, and then he would put on whitetail hunting.
Yep. Depends
That's
on the
it.
season. We mix it up though. We watch adult stuff too, like not adult, like business stuff as well, financial stuff.
Adult stuff.
Yeah, adult stuff.
Adulting topics of finance,
Yeah.
and taxes, and
Those are in there too.
responsibility.
But all right,
Well, alrighty.
we
yeah.
had our number. We beat it. We're all the way up to 43.
Wow.
I'd like to have a video one day where every single person that watches it is watching liked it. Like we have as many likes as we do views.
Well, Dom, have you liked it, Kyle?
I liked
Yeah,
it.
I've liked it.
Technically, Dom, you could theoretically have more likes than views because if anyone liked
people
it and
filter
stopped
out,
viewing,
yeah.
you could technically have, more. But you
Ben
gotta
Holiday,
really
keep
get
it
as
PG in the
much
chat, please.
I think
All
that
right, you guys want to start posting some questions, get them in there. We'll talk nonsense for 5 more minutes and then start getting into it.
Can I tell you guys about my day?
No,
Oh yeah, nobody asked.
Yeah, how do you tell us?
I had a great day. Thank you.
you were
for
doing
asking.
something during the middle of the day because normally you're blowing me up all the mid. I would have heard a lot more about ICU before 3 o'clock. You were busy doing something.
Yeah, I started blowing you up right at the right time, by the way. Before your
This-
stupid little boat appointment. So what? We started the morning and I had an idea of shorting OPGN. And then the morning spike came and I saw what Jack was doing with it. And I said, okay, well, 129 versus 134 is some sick risk reward if it drops like 15 cents. Took a trade there, made some money, closed up shop immediately, missed TPST, was kind of sad, but like whatever, got over it. And took the day off. Really didn't, watch tickers or the market or anything. It felt like we kind of cleaned up on what was there and what came and now it was gone. Knew about ICU in the back of my mind and went to Sidel's, which is like a Jewish locks place, chocolate factory. And I got this. I don't know if you guys know what a latke is. Do you guys know what a latke is?
Sounds like chocolate drink or
It's
something.
like a Jewish pancake.
It's similar to a chocolate drink. It's like a potato pancake.
I was right.
Potato pancake.
But I was super happy with my day.
How did you
so I
know
was like,
that,
all right.
Dom?
Yeah,
I'm really smart.
knows
I
his
think Dom's just like a good trivia guy, honestly. If we had a trivia night, I would bet money that Dom would just destroy it.
We should do a trivia night.
I'm in.
Sorry to interrupt though. How do you keep going?
So I got a latke, but then I got the luxurious Jewish latke where I put caviar, some creme fraiche, and some lox on top of the caviar, and we just had a little breakfast brunch situation going on. I got a matzo ball soup. I went full Jew, and then I looked at my phone at 1 o'clock and I saw ICU kind of grinding in the 60s, and I was like, shit, I gotta get home. We gotta see how this looks like in another hour. And we bought ICU like about 245 right into the dip at 67 cents, and it was a good day.
Sounds like a good day.
It was a good day.
Well, it was like exactly what I was trying to stress so much in Europe, which was, take short positions in the afternoon, in the mornings, and then buy multi-day breakout looking setups into the afternoon. And I feel like I get away from that when I'm no longer traveling, and like I just want to keep grinding for trades when it's just like you can keep it so simple and trade less and trade better. And it just was a good reminder of that. Like it was very active with the shorts the past 2 weeks, and like okay, there weren't many, so take it easy. And then there was one setup that was screaming in the afternoon, I believe.
Nice.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I just think kind of like what it is for me is just I've noticed a lot of my better trading weeks are actually when I really just dial down like one trading day. And I just like kind of take the day off. Like today was kind of like that day for me where I was only in positions for 30 minutes out of the day, which I got a little trading in, but I didn't really work too hard. And I just think like that one day of just like kind of refreshing yourself. And for me, just like stepping out of the market and just thinking about other things, it just leads to such a better trading week because I feel like when I grind for 5 days in a row, I'm going to make a mistake and it's probably going to be somewhere in the middle of the week, Wednesday, Thursday, maybe Tuesday. But like Monday and Friday is always solid for me because I know that either there's a long week ahead or the weekend's about to be coming. So there's no need to work super hard. And Wednesday's just a great day for me to detach if there's nothing going on.
I really like your ability to know when to like press for a home run type scenario and when to like pretty much scalp a good setup and just take like the meat, knowing that like, okay, like I could sit here for another 3 hours and maybe capture another 5%, but like whatever, like I have better things to do. I can go to the gym, I can go hang out with people, like whatever it is, whatever hobby it is. And your ability to turn it off and on is impressive.
Yeah, that's what I've been working on this year, and it's still been a little bit difficult dialing it in, but one thing that the biggest change for me, I think, is I no longer like feel the pressure or the FOMO. If I do miss something, I kind of like shrug it off. Whereas if I miss something and like a couple of years ago, like it would just kind of like ruin my day. I'd be like, damn, why wasn't I there for that? Which turned me into like the type of trader, like how I got here, it was that mindset of feeling guilty to miss something. But now like the stage that I'm at, like I'm teaching, we're all teaching, and I got other projects going on. And if I miss a trade, like it's not going to change my life. You know what I mean? Like the littlest bit. So like spending time stressing over that trade or worrying about missing it takes more of my time than just, hitting that trade. I get more out of my life. So that's how I feel.
Well, also it's like every next dollar.
Yeah, Mr. Discipline. Here we go.
Every next dollar for you, it's less than the last.
Exactly.
And I don't
Less
say
percentage.
yeah, I don't say that in a negative way, but it's like when you have $10 million and $10,000 means a lot more to somebody who's only got $10,000 versus someone who's got 10 million.
Dude, when I hear 10 million associated to Jack Kellogg's name, it blows my mind still. Like I'm still not used
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah,
I mean,
because I remember we were speaking when I was negative 5 grand.
yeah, like
You
I
literally got to
remember like
watch
it
the
was
entire
yesterday.
journey, dude. So pretty crazy.
It's amazing. Like I was just like watching some like football player got like a $10 million signing bonus. And someone was like how crazy would that be to be 25 and have a $10 million signing bonus? And I was like, Jack, like
It's like I know someone
Yeah.
like that.
pretty sick. But the journey's been cool to watch. The journey has been very, very cool to watch. And it's nice to see too, because like what Jack does is he trades pretty much the same structure that all four of us trade. He just, you know, the art of it is knowing when to size and when to play defense and when to kind of, add to your winners and compound that win rate, whatever it is. Wow, look at ICU here.
What is it
What's it
now?
doing?
110?
12.
Wow.
Wow, man. What a gap up.
That's nice. I forgot what I was saying.
Whew.
Sorry.
Still have 36 minutes there.
Good stuff,
Yep.
Huddy. Got in
Totally
at
distracted.
67. Killer.
Yeah. Yeah, just barely on that 245 dip. If you guys are looking at the chart, just like took all my orders right in that moment. I didn't want to chase it at all. And I think I probably could have added to it at some point, but
It's crazy
definitely
the
my regret.
the line on my chart here. Like something that I talk about all the time is like it bottomed 2 times with a hammer candle on like that former body of that candle. You see the line, like it's just so perfect. And I had this line in here this morning, and I've had this line in there, so it's just like proven to be multi-day runner, consolidation, proving resistance now is support, huge volume, big green day. Whoop,
And
very textbook.
whoop, whoop. Another nice thing that I've been doing lately, if you guys use Think or Swim, is like obviously Jack always gives the constant reminders to draw your lines. I keep my lines drawn, like the significant lines that I really like. I keep them drawn, and like you never know when those lines are going to come back and like make you see something that is still significant to this day. Oftentimes they can be still significant in the future.
They always are.
Well, lovely. I hope it goes high as possible. I know they're very dire for cash on hand. I'm pretty sure last time I checked, they have less money in their account.
They have like 13 grand.
Yeah, I made more money in that
Is that
day than
them?
they have in their account.
Yeah, well, they're probably pumping it up to do an offering of some
Oh,
sort. I mean, that's probably the
100%.
agenda here.
100%. So yeah, I'm
Higher
very
the gap
short-biased.
up is, the more likely I want to short it once it meets the minimum percentage increase of 100% for me. I mean, it's at 120 is really like that pretty big percentage increase.
Yeah,
100% from where?
from the
Where it
close.
started trading, 55.
Oh, 55. Okay. Over
Like
yeah.
110
I
would
thought
be
you meant
minimum
gap.
short for me. No.
Okay.
Yeah, the higher gaps, the more short bias I immediately am out the open. Like if this thing gaps to 150 pre-market, I'm 100%. No, I'm not gonna blindly short, but I'm definitely not looking along it. And I'll definitely be looking for fails to pull.
Just for the fun of it, let's talk about why, right? Like why is that such a good why are you so interested in shorting 150? I think it's interesting because like, me as like the person that is long overnight and most likely swinging no matter what happens here after hours, because that's what my strategy kind of says for me to do. If it's up at 150, like what am I doing immediately at market open?
You're selling.
Right? Like
Selling?
I'm market ordering out like immediately first minute candle or whatever it is. That's like the logical thing that like most rational people would do. So it creates that like opportunity where there is a pocket. Sometimes it catches and rips though. So you got to be kind of careful about that.
Yeah, by no means a foolproof thing. It just the higher it's like a scale. Like the higher something gaps for me, the more bearish I get, or the more in my brain the odds of it being a downtrend once the market opens.
At least a pullback at market open.
Yeah, at least some kind of selling event, simply because of that. Like if you're long, and you've got 100 people long, and they're up 200%, 400%, like the higher the gap up is, it's like how many more people you're gonna get who are gonna end up selling? Because it's like if you're up 100, if you just cut 100% gap up and you're still holding, you're either just being greedy or you have a huge thesis as to why you think it goes higher, or are willing to be patient through a pullback for that. But again, something like ICU, where I think not everyone knows, but most people I think have a general idea that this is not a great company. I just think there's definitely going to be pockets of selling for sure.
You
So,
must have missed the news today, Kyle.
well, a bunch of companies have news, but
I kind of think of it in terms of like the liquidity gap, right? And it's like why the pattern makes sense to me. Like that's the psychology behind like the players who are like playing it, and like they're selling, and that's what's making it go down. But if you just think of it in percentage terms, it's like basically from the previous close to where it's opening up. That's what I see as like liquidity to take advantage of in the market, because that's where the pattern and the data is coming in, that this statistically should sell off into that, back down to that mean reversion of the previous close. And they're gapping it up on very, very light volume. So when the market opens, that's why you usually at least get a pullback, because the selling is just so overweight. Nobody really wants to be buying that up there unless there's like a very special situation. But majority of the time, you're going to have that liquidity from, previous close to open price. That is where you can take advantage of and make money in the market.
I feel like you also don't. There's a certain subset of people out there who don't even know how to sell after hours or pre-market or buy after hours or pre-market. So they just go into the broker if they were told to buy this today and they want to sell tomorrow and it's way up. They're just going to put a market order in. It's going to go off at the open. So you have all that extra selling that isn't happening in after hours and pre-market.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, it's great points from all of us. You know what I mean? All the points that all the Clovers just went through is a combination of why we'd be looking to short. Yeah, literally gold. Somebody says
Gap to 150, immediate spike to 3.
Yeah, it's just something you don't really see it, So
we haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah,
there's markets for it.
We'll put it this way.
Go ahead, Kyle.
And this is a broader, and I think I've shared this before. This is a broader concept as to why they're selling out the open, which has to do with the overall markets, like the S&P 500. There was I don't know if it was a study done or there was a back testing done, but essentially you could either buy and hold the S&P 500, right? Make your, call it 9, 10, 11% per year. And over 30 years, you'd be up, call it 300%. I know there's compounding involved, but let's just say 10% for 30 years, you're up 300%. Just very basic math without compounding. If you did the same thing, but instead of just holding the S&P 500, you bought the close and sold the open. So you pretty much were never in the S&P 500 during the actual hours it traded. You simply bought the last minute of the close and sold the first minute of the open. You were up like double. Like, so instead of 300%, you were up like 600%. Don't quote me on those exact numbers. I know they're obviously much more detailed, but it was something like significantly higher return if you just avoided the actual trading and just caught the gaps every single day. And I think it goes to show that, like, usually overnight there's news. Typically people obviously would like to have positive news more than negative news. And usually, again, like Dom said, if there's a large, and in terms of big fund managers or big people with a lot of shares of the S&P 500, if they're going to need someone to unload to, they're going to do it when their most volume's coming in, which is in the market open. Right? They're not going to do it pre-market. They're not going to do it, midday per se. Maybe they will if there's like bad news, right? But typically, it's going to be the most volume's coming in, which is right around the open. So in general, it's like there's many stocks are out there simply for shares to be sold. And so, that's why I think trading and self-investing can be so difficult, because unless you're long-term and you're trying to pick your spots, you're met with a lot of obstacles in your way. So,
yeah, well said there.
let's see here. Shall we check some questions?
I want to add on to that though.
Okay,
one thing that I do want to add, real quick. If you're long the market from the last week of October to the first week or the last week of April, you pretty much capture all of the SPY returns. And I'm pretty sure statistically over the last several decades, if you were just long the market from May to September, you statistically barely made any money. So just, crazy the very clear cycles there are for seasonality and time based. And I think it's definitely something that plays a major role in the penny stock market as well.
Sell in May and go away.
Yep.
Wake me up when September ends.
That's Green Day.
I know that's Green Day. That's a band, but sounds about right. Well, alrighty. Ben has not a question, but a great comment. He says, "Kyle, let's get Kyle on a 500 milligram edible and run it back on TPST on 10/11." That's how I'd really feel like I'm dying, Ben. That's yeah. We're gonna pass on that idea.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. And then Ben asked, I think we already went over this, but are you looking for a gap up short on ICU similar to NKLA type day, type trade? Yeah, essentially. Like we kind of just went over that. But yeah, like getting the higher gaps up, I think the more selling pressure there is to potentially pull it back a bit. NKLA is a little bit better though, because NKLA was just insanely dilutive.
And like a massive share count.
Yeah, and a way thicker
Yeah.
float. I don't think ICU is there yet, but again, considering they have no cash at some point in offerings coming, I just don't know what kind of offering that looks like versus NKLA, which was pretty dilutive at pretty much all prices. So
Let's get an update from Dahmer.
Dahmer.
What?
What's on your mind?
Nothing much. I was just looking at something on my phone. I had to set my lineups too.
I'm a
What's
little
on my
stressed out
mind?
over there or something.
Yeah, I was looking at flights for something. To see your stupid A word in December. Something that's on my mind. What is the next question? There was one
No
about
questions. I want to hear
no,
the
because it was
free.
on my mind. It was, do you guys have a
what-
bad habit like revenge trading when starting or now that held you back? And how did you solve it? Um, Something that used to haunt me, and I think really plays into the overall math on whether or not you make money long term. Um, which for me is like buying and selling and buying and selling and buying and selling, or shorting and covering, like just taking the same trade inside of a range over and over again when nothing has truly happened. On something like ICU today, if like that 60 cents is the risk level, but you buy every perk through 67, then you sell 65 because you think it's going to go break your risk. And then you do it again and again. And all of a sudden you've taken 3 or 4 losses and the play it's continued to uptrend and it just didn't go when you wanted it to. That's what I feel like I've been doing for weeks lately. And I don't know what it stems from, but I
Lack of
remember
confidence.
it's not wanting to take any loss. So you go from, okay, I'm okay risking $500 down to 60 cents, but you buy it. And then the second you're down 150, you're like, screw this. It's not going to work. So you take the $150. And then that happens 3 or 4 times. And all of a sudden you realize if I just risked a 750 from the initial entry, I still wouldn't be stopped out and I would have zero realized losses. And yeah, I think it has a lot to do with confidence and just the way my year has gone, and just I expect to lose, so it's almost like in my mind, why not lose less? But then the ones that work, I did today on CEI actually was one of the, I think the only thing I did. I bought it like 49.4 on the perk through at like 11.25 because I've noticed that when CEI does this after a spike and holds up sideways that it tends to go higher, and it had pretty tight risk. I could have risked the higher low or 47. And I just started staring at the level two, and like the level two was a penny lower, and I just got anxious, upset, and was just like, screw it. It's a penny, it's a half penny higher. I'm just gonna take it off, and then it goes on a run towards 57. And you just feel stupid because it's like I just took a random loss on something that should have made me money. And this is something that helped me a lot at the beginning, because once you realize not necessarily why you're doing it, but what you're doing and how negative it is to the overall bottom line. Because in that situation, that is a loss. It's not a full size loss, but it was a loss that's going to go down the stat sheet as a loser. When in reality, the plan was a winner, and those are a big difference between being profitable and unprofitable. So that's something that I'm working on. I actually wrote new rules last night, which clearly didn't help today. That I have to put a stop in at my risk level upon following entry, so that way I'm not allowed to mess with the position. Clearly, I didn't take it enough to heart today, but
How
after
did you
doing it
break your
again.
rule on the first day?
Oh, that's how
Tell
much
me.
confidence I have.
Drill Sergeant Jack.
In that case, it was because it wasn't a probably even close to an A- setup. So
That
then
was
you
a
feel
pretty bad
stupid for
setup.
yeah, but I was right, and that's the worst part. Um,
Adjust your risk though, then.
no, it's one of those things where sometimes having rules and just being really strict with yourself for a while can help. Um, and that's what I used to do, would go back and go through like my last 10 trades or whatever it was, see where I broke the rules, see where I broke the plan, see where I traded inside of a range, and just done the math on what should have happened with conservative price targets. And more often than not, you're going to do a lot better by just following your initial plan through thick and thin, whatever it ends up being, whether you get stopped out or whether it works. But all the micromanaging can definitely be uh, a downfall. And it's one of those things where when you're rolling and things are going really good, that type of micromanagement can save you a lot of money because your gut feelings is right because you've been trading really well, you're really in tune with the market, you've adapted. But when you're unconfident and not doing well, um, that micromanagement, I think,
Hurt you.
is yeah,
Yeah, that's a
it's
great
really not.
quote.
And just to like expand upon what he was just talking about, and relating it back to the question of like, revenge trading. I've definitely fallen susceptible to that exact kind of tendency where you're in and out within a range. And the worst thing that happens from that tendency is that you take a bunch of paper cuts, then eventually you're just like, F it. Like, I'm just going to take the real position now, but you already have built a negative cushion on, entries that should have never been losses in the first place. You're
Yeah,
just like,
and now you're dealing with a loser when nothing has happened.
and then you have to size in completely. And now you're taking like a loss when it does go wrong that is bigger than that loss should have ever been in the first place had you just stuck to your initial plan. And that's where a lot of revenge trading stems from. Um, just not following the initial plan and just like fighting the stock until it works. So, maybe focusing on like better structures is kind of like the key there, and just like really focusing on intraday action and not just like randomly stabbing into like predictable zones.
And if you're going to do that, you need to be sure as F that you're going to use the risk level that needs to be used.
Yeah.
Because what I found myself doing is just buying, thinking that something is going to happen, and if it doesn't happen, you just take a smaller loss. But then you still think the overarching idea is going to work, so you get back in, and it's like you have to be either really short-minded, and this is a scalp. Yeah, I'm expecting this type of move right now, and if it doesn't happen, I bail. Or it's as long as this level holds, I think it can still work. So I have to use that as a risk.
Yeah, it's a bad habit to definitely overcome, not sticking to the plan and taking unnecessary losses when trades should have worked or lost on their own. The micromanagement can be bad. Um, one of the bad habits that I slip into is not using consistent risk. I kind of built my account in the beginning without the idea of consistent risk. It was just like if it was like an optimal play, I wanted my whole account in, and if it was not optimal, then I would kind of just like locate a certain amount of shares. And it worked really well for growth, and there were some big losses in between that were like definitely frustrating. But then when I eventually settled into consistent risk, that's when I was able to grow my accounts where it's like, no matter what the play, like I made sure that I had the specific risk level in mind with a certain dollar risk in mind as well. And that's when I experienced the most amount of consistency in my journey where losses stayed small, wins stayed fantastically large, and results were consistent. And that's in that situation, I was able to grow. Losses never pissed me off. Wins were never kind of like too surprising given what I was, putting in, and everything made a lot more sense in that moment when I decided to make my losses consistent. I think it's a big thing to learn eventually, and I still struggle with it.
I agree with all those things. I think my biggest struggle recently, this fall season, has been like what we talked about earlier, just pushing for trades that aren't there. And I'm not really pushing for trades necessarily, but I'm pushing for just more profits per se. And I don't know, it's weird because it's not like I'm ever I've been profitable and brought in some good months the last few. Like September I made 60 grand, that's great. After today I'm up about 40 grand in October, that's cool. Made 20 grand in August. So it's like I'm pulling out a profitable month. So it's like I don't really have much to complain about. Yeah, there's some rules being broken. Yeah, maybe I'm not trading as well as I know I can. But there's like this. I've fallen into this overarching. And I guess it was the worst back in July when I lost to CVNA, and it's because on CVNA I was just pushing it every single day trying to make money out of CVNA, which is like the worst thing ever. I don't know. I have caught myself many times having to remind myself that just today is not the day, right? Like today's not a day that you're gonna make an account building or account moving kind of day. Like today, for example, like part of me could easily have wanted to just find another trade and made something happen, but all I did was make a little bit of money on TPST, and then that was it, right? I could have forced trades here and there and given money back in the name of let's make some more money, but today's just not the day. So I've had to really remind myself of that this fall. So yeah, I don't know if there was an actual conclusion to me solving that, but it's just a reminder of me being conscious and reminding myself that it's very obvious to me when there's a day that it could be a 20, 30, 40, 50K day kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah,
Very nice.
I think that one of my skill sets as a trader has definitely been to kind of tune that when to kind of push it and when to just understand that it's not like a big day. It's just and it's two like completely different things in my head. Like the way that I think about the trade, the way that I think about the risk level, the way that I think about how I'm going to handle my day, the day that I plan my day, what I'm going to eat, all these things kind of come into play about, okay, is this a day that I need to commit myself to understanding this play that can yield me 50 to 100,000 in profits, or is this a day that I'm looking to risk a couple thousand and looking to get paid 3, 4, 5, 6K within the first 30 minutes, within the first hour, and kind of just lock my accounts from there and just continue to sit on my hands and wait. And what happens with me, and what my problem is when those mindset shift, when I mistake a good play but it's actually just a shit scalp day and I get myself down 10, 20,000, then it just kind of like snowballs into like this big mess where I'm just like kind of turning and turning and turning until eventually it either has a huge win or a huge loss. Like that's the only way that I ever get out of these cycles, and it all starts with a very small $10,000 to $20,000 loss. So for me, it's just always trying to think in the back of my head, like what cycle of profits am I in? And then, if I do have like a good trade and like I use that momentum to like, keep churning, keep burning. But am I in a toxic relationship with the market? I was in a very toxic relationship with Carvana, like Kyle was very similar. I was in a toxic mindset after the weed sector. Just because I misinterpreted that information where I thought like these were just going to be like crazy and I'm going to make a ton of money. And
what were they going to be like?
They're going to be fucking crazy, dude. I'm not going to repeat that because it was too perfect. But it's just, that's my struggles, since we're all kind of sharing our struggles.
Very nice. Alrighty. Dom, if you want to, I don't know where I can't find the question that you asked. If you want to just continue from that point on, unless you want me to just pick one.
There's a question about Schwartzy.
Oh, I see it. What happened to Swarzy? Did he quit doing Wine
Still-
Wednesdays? Fran, I don't know. This must be the other Fran. Or is it the same Fran?
Yeah, it's a different Fran
Two
than
Frans.
the one that was at the boot camp ticket.
Fran, you've been missing out. What was this? God, this must have been
July.
July.
Yeah, like summertime. He wanted to go pursue his PhD, and doing that and running Clover at the same time is almost, I don't want to say impossible, but it's a lot. So he said, you know what, I'll still be in the room. He chats every now and then. He pops in, says hello.
We should have him on here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, maybe when next time he's free, he just comes on and says what's up. But he's been, from my understanding, he's been focusing on that. So
Yeah, they do. There is word of like another poker game going on, and let us know in the chat We can do the poker game on Wine Wednesday, but we feel like, on Wine Wednesdays, we kind of interact with you guys more when we're not playing poker and we talk more about stock trading. So we were thinking about doing it
I
on
think
another night.
a
Do
Sunday
you
night
guys,
might work nicely.
but do you guys find that interesting? Would you guys want to show up for a poker night with Brittany, Cody Pavlok, some Schwarzy, maybe someone else? We'll get some Sing Lucci or whoever else wants to join, really. If anyone else is watching.
But not on Wine Wednesday, a different day.
How do we feel about those though? Because we don't have to stream them. We could just play.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I'm trying to get at right now. All right, there's a couple questions here. We have, not much time. Mason asks, how do you guys deal with multiple losses on an overextended gap down day after a day like MNTS? Asking because I shorted the red green move every day on the way up and missed the move today.
That's tough because I didn't trade at all on the way up, and because it was such a tough mover, I also didn't trade today. And yes, today was the first red day. Today actually had a great sell-off, but I said in pre-market, or not pre-market prep, I said in Good Morning NASDAQ, I said I don't care if I miss it. I just don't. It's just not the way it moves, the way it acts. It's just not one that I'm going to partake in. And it's partly why, Mason, because I've been in your situation where I have traded stocks that move like that, taken a bunch of losses on the front side, then trade it finally again and maybe nail it. And all I do
not
is
even make it back.
Yeah, all I do is barely make it back or not. So it's like there's some runners where I'm willing to miss out on the gains, but it's also because I'm actually avoiding a lot of losses in the same time. So that's what MNTS is for me. It's just not a smooth runner by any means. It's like a sub 2 million float, which explains why it's spiked.
Too much of a whipsaw.
Yeah, I mean, I would have stopped out many times had I been looking to short it seriously.
Yeah.
So
this is definitely just one of those tricky ones where it's not like the cleanest trend and the cleanest levels. While it ran, it was very sporadic. And you can even look at the daily chart, like every day, kind of going from a red move and spiking green. So like there's going to be easier plays out there. There's going to be more layups and 3-pointers in your career. This just seemed to be like one of those 3-pointers or half-court shots that you fought and tried multiple times and missed every time. And they're just not all going to be like that. And that's a reality that you have to face. And through your experience, you're going to learn which ones, kind of present themselves as a little bit more tricky than others, whereas other ones can kind of look easier in the plan of attack and what the fake out moves might look like. So it's a big experience thing, but like, I don't think it's wrong for you to have given it a shot and tried your best to nail what you thought was a good pattern. And, there was some money to be made on it today. But again, just like this was just one of those harder ones that was difficult. And it's good to learn both sides, right? Like you can't just win all of them and you can't just become a good trader without fighting a few stocks and taking a couple licks every now and again. Most important thing is to kind of acknowledge, like, if the behavior isn't conducive to how you're normally feeling or familiar with, then it's a big red flag to kind of stay away and just wait for the next one and not like, one of the best things I could have told myself in the beginning days when I used to get super upset about missing any single play was that, like, relax, Huddy, there's going to be 1,000 more of these things. And like, just let this one go and move on to the next because you have 10 years in front of you, which is at least like, again, like 1,000 more.
Love that. Oh, this is a funny question. Did you guys ever continue with the small account contest? Who won? No, we did not. We never really started because
I'm winning.
Jack definitely won.
Jack
Sure.
just wanted to trade
I will
in his
let him
IRA, and he just wanted to start on a certain date, but he kept trading it before the date, so it's like whatever he was at was what we had to start it with in the account, and so we never followed through. We were like, let's start with 10K, and then by the time the contest would have started, Jack's like, oh, I've already grown my account to 20K. Where are you guys? We're like, all right, well, this doesn't sound like it's going to happen.
Jack won the contest, but I got to be honest. Like, I was never really fully behind the idea of trading with a 10K account because
But he did win the war.
If there's an opportunity where I want $50,000 in a stock, like I'm taking, I want to make money more than like have a contest with Jack. I don't know. I don't have 10 mil, right? So it's like,
well, that's what I thought we were going to do. We were going to have a small account contest, and we were just going to grow it on the side of things we were already trading. So we didn't have to only trade with our small account. We were just also, while trading with our big accounts, trying to grow the small account as like a friendly contest. The problem is
Yeah.
Kellogg wanted to grow his IRA, which is already more funded than my IRA. So it's like I either have to open up a whole new small account, but I mean, Kellogg's definitely been winning with the IRA growth for sure. So
Okay. Friday, I will be. Sorry, go ahead, Jack or Dom.
I was just reading what you were reading. Friday, I will be over PDT. I'm a bit nervous as it opens the
Who's that,
floodgates a
Matt?
bit. Any recommendations on how to handle the unlimited trades and possibility to use large size? I would treat it business as usual.
Yeah, try to stick to the kind of trader that you've always been, and hopefully you haven't been the person that's like, hopefully like
If you grew it
being
to
over
get it
PDT
there,
doesn't just like grant you large size, right? Like you should still be using relatively the same sizing metric, right? That you've been using. Just because you're over PDT doesn't mean like you can all of a sudden use large size. So that's number one. And number two, like, yeah, I would focus on the strategies that built you up to that moment and stay true to who you are, because it's a slippery slope
Well,
if you go right back underneath it in a day.
here's the thing. I had thought when I first heard that question, I thought, oh, he had grown it, or he or she had grown it to that level. But then I reread it and it says Friday I will be over PDT. It's like, well, I don't think you know on Friday you'd be over PDT if you grew it because you wouldn't know when your next profit is. So I'm envisioning you're funding your account over PDT on Friday, or by Friday the money will clear.
Detective Kyle.
And in that case,
I saw that too.
I agree with Huddy of like, just because you're over PDT, what does that mean you can trade with large size? I would have the discipline to be over PDT, but only trade with 10% of the account. Simply because you're new, right? I'm assuming you've traded with under PDT because your comment just suggests that to me. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, business as usual. Like whatever setup you're learning or trying to get better at, I would still only trade that setup. I don't think, I know it's easier said than done, but I don't think being over the PT, just because it gives you that freedom, necessarily you've earned it, right? And I say that for anybody. Like for me, I had a fairly decent time going over PDT simply because when I crossed it, I was like, well, what changes? Nothing really. I'm still trading the same setups that I have. Maybe I'll trade an extra setup or two that pops up, but nonetheless, I'm still sticking to what I'm doing, which is I'm not going out of the realm of trading things I'm not familiar with.
I think the question you need to ask yourself is, are you a consistently profitable trader? And if that answer is yes, and you have been slowly growing your account like this year, and you're making good trades and good patterns, and let's say you grew your account from 5K to, let's say, 12,000 over the last 6 months, and you make money the majority of the time. You keep losses small, and you're just doubling your account. You have more buying power. You're inheriting something. You're getting more money. If that is the case, like then I would size up, and I would use $200 risk, but I would only do this if I'm using like $50 risk with like a 10K account or whatever is $100 risk. I'd size up probably to like $200 risk, nothing more than that, $250 risk, and I'd continue to trade and see if if I'm continuing to consistently be profitable by the end of each day, each week, each month, like then I would keep pushing it. That's what I did. I couldn't really grow an account below PDT till this IRA this year, but when I first started, I needed to fund an account over PDT because I needed that freedom to kind of get in and out when I wanted, and it completely changed the type of trader that I am. But your account will tell you how you're doing. If you open up your account and you have 27,000 in it, and at the end of the month you got 24,300, you got to stop what you're doing because it's not working, right? If your account's 30K, keep going, So.
Love it.
Okay. A couple other questions we're going to breeze through real quick. Frosty asks, can you walk through how you navigate through SEC Edgar to find the latest ATMs and delisting notices? That's probably more of like you're a member of Clover and you're at the webinars and you want us to really go through ATMs, delisting notices, and SEC Edgar. That's not really a Wine Wednesday type of conversation while we're trying to wind down.
That made me think that's probably a good video lesson to make.
Yeah,
could be a good topic for 4-leaf clovers there.
CH13 says FIFO or LIFO, does it really matter? I think we're all LIFO for life, right?
Yeah, I'm LIFO.
It depends on the. I think it depends on the broker, but I could care less. I don't honestly don't know what my brokers are at. I don't care. For me, it's I have
Bro,
an average in.
that mattered. That mattered during the pandemic. Like
Yeah, it
LIFO
mattered.
mattered.
To me,
It
it didn't.
mattered.
I've
What your
never.
average was, and yeah, it mattered.
I personally never cared for it. I just know I have an average in. I have an average out. You know,
Mr. Discipline over here.
if my averages are good on both ends, it doesn't matter to me which little bit of, because the problem is for me, it's like, because I don't get me wrong, I have thought about it, like it's like, should I care? And the last thing I want to do is care about, oh well, 10% of my size is that a bad average? Like who care about the other 90%? I didn't want to get caught up on how much of what position was where, and all I should have cared about was where is the entire position, like on average.
We get it, Kyle. You're
know.
not human.
Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
a little passionate, but yeah, I personally haven't cared.
No,
It's okay to care,
I'll
but I
explain why last and first thought's very important. And for me, it's important because in the pandemic, like Dom said, it mattered because a lot of these positions they offered, multi-leg moves. It wasn't just like moving up and you're looking for 10, 15% and you're getting out 20%. These things were moving hundreds of percent up, and these things were also moving, tens of percent down. And we like to add to our position a lot of the time, especially going long. So if we added to our position, and let's say we had 1 million shares and we added 300,000 shares at this, key kind of level where we think it should kind of perk and go up, and it immediately dumps. Like I don't want those shares from that level. Like I thought it was going to perk and I thought it was going to continue higher. So I would just sell that 300K and take that $600, $700 loss on those shares, but keep my original position. And maybe I try to add later, or maybe I don't add. But ruining that average that you had, if you're in from 60 cents and your risk is 63 and you have, almost zero risk. But if you're adding and get your risk to like 65, but you're like, I really don't want to swing this kind of size overnight, you can just sell your position and get your average back down to that low. So for me, just mentally, it helped me trade way better.
Yeah. During the pandemic, it mattered more.
Yeah.
LIFO.
Can you advise on cutting losses? Daria asks, when and how did you finally become disciplined? I am personally struggling with cutting losses quickly.
I think it's the most
Do you have a
important thing to learn right
strategy?
off the bat.
What's your strategy? What is your risk level? Are you making consistent money? Do you know where you should be risking? Do you know where you should be taking profits? It's like it's all the little things, all the little questions you have to ask yourself. If you're just getting in and it starts going against you, and you don't have a plan, like you're not going to cut losses because you don't know what the hell you're doing. So it's like you gotta have more concrete. Kyle made a great video lesson that I actually watched earlier today, and he was talking a lot about how trading is just like running a business. And if you like just don't know, I think a lot of, not taking losses, not taking profits, it comes from not knowing your numbers and not knowing how you should be executing. Because if your pattern says in your business sheet says you should be doing this and you're not doing it, why would you continue to do it? Because you're not going to make money.
I would say I agree with all that, and then I would say, you can either cut your loss where you said you would and take the loss, or you can go against your own word and trade plan and lose more later. It's like lose a little bit now or lose more later because you didn't cut your loss and it went further against you, and you just made your loss twice as big. I would try to condition yourself to the idea that if you don't cut your losses can only get bigger. They can't get recovered, because 90% of the time that's probably the case. You'll get bailed out every once in a while, but it's not going to be worth the other 90% that turn into twice the size of the loss because you didn't cut it the first time. So
Yeah, I think it all really comes down to having a trade plan. And that can be from the beginning to the intermediate stages to advanced levels. Like you heard me talk about my struggles with trusting my own plans. But, even as a beginner, you're way more better off having an idea of where am I entering, what am I risking, and what am I looking for out of the trade, and just writing all that down and following it to a T. Even when you know nothing, you're going to do better off. And by that, I mean, take less trades, lose less money over the long run, maybe potentially get profitable sooner. more than doing things randomly. That's why I kind of hate the word cutting losses quickly, because it really has to do with, you know, cutting losses quickly. Like what I'm talking about is a horrible thing if you're not following your plan. If I'm saying I'm risking 60 cents and I keep cutting it at 65, 65, 65, and I lose 3R over the course of 10 trades versus just, still being in the trade because that risk level never was hit, that's just as much of a mistake as not cutting at my risk level and letting it go longer. So I think you know, risk management, I think, should be the number one thing you focus on for the first months of your career, because it's one of the only things you can truly control. You're really not in positions to make a lot of money at that time just because you don't exactly know what you're doing. But you can mitigate risk as much as possible, not put yourself in situations to lose a lot overnight, or not put yourself in situations to hold and hope. So having I don't know what I keep saying, having a plan and yeah, focus on risk management right from the beginning, because it only gets harder as the money becomes bigger to cut those losses.
For me, um, when did I finally become disciplined is when I finally decided to become a short seller. Because like for the longest time, and maybe this assimilates with you, maybe it doesn't, right? Like I can't really give you advice. I can only talk about my experience. And the reality was, like, for longs, I would always cut underneath support quickly, and then it would literally catch right underneath it and pop right back into the support zone. And then I would buy it back with that new low as the loss. Then I would take the same loss again. And it was like the same cycle. And then, like, I know so many people listening to this right now experience that because it's still there. It still happens all the time. And what helped me with cutting losses, or at least like learning setups, learning patterns, learning like the right expectation of where the stock is going, not where it's at right now, was with short selling. Because I feel like the data points are so much more certain as to like what the risk is and kind of what the entry is. Whereas like longs are a lot of the times more like an area that needs to hold. And it can be choppy around that area. And with shorts, it's like, okay, if it does this, then I don't want to be in anymore. And like, yeah, I might get faked out every now and again, but the win rate is so high that I shouldn't even be getting faked out. So what helped me learn how to stay comfortable within setups and trust plans and have setups was short selling, like learning how to be a short seller and tackle the short selling situations. Cause especially like as a short seller, like you don't have room to BS around. You don't have a space to F around and find out, because that could be your last trade. So every decision you make when it's at your risk level is that much more imperative to cut the losses quickly, but also intelligently. That is what helped me. I truly believe it, because I would not be a successful trader if I had to learn only long since day one of my career. I only was profitable with longs after like a 4-year career of short selling first red day stuff.
Short selling
again,
is a business, like you got to pay for locates. You gotta, locate the fees. You get arrows. You get to pick your orders. Who can just open an account, TD account, E-Trade account, know nothing about the market, just buy some random top percent gainer, and maybe it goes up, maybe it goes down. It's long is a huge gamble, like with short selling, there's just so much more structure to it, and it creates those good habits and transfers into being a good long trader.
Yeah, exactly. So just at the end of the day, eventually someone's got to, maybe learn both sides. That's what I did, and that's what worked for me, and maybe it might work for you. I don't know. Short selling is important to understand. Do you guys use level 2 before placing a trade? For me, it's like really 50-50. I don't know about you guys, but like when I was buying ICU today, I was not using level 2 at all. Like not in the singlest bit. I know Jack sometimes is like hawking the level 2 and looking for like iceberg orders that kind of like dictate like who might be faking the bid down to accumulate lower or whatever it is. Sometimes there's games being played on level 2 that you have to be aware of, and sometimes they're not being played, and it is what it is. And that's kind of the tricky part of trading. Also, it can be, because it really is. That's why I said it's 50-50. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't.
I mean, my order box is literally in my level 2, so I'm always looking at it. I don't necessarily use it as a distinction to make decisions, but it's like I need to know where the bid and the ask are. If I'm going to place a limit order, I'd like to know where I'm placing it, and who's in front of me, who's behind me, who's above me, who's around me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, and also sometimes like if you know there's dilution, you can see like certain chopping orders. You can kind of see like the way that like executions are being had, and you can kind of feel what the tape is. I think tape is more of a feel as I'm talking about it. Like sometimes you can feel its direction, feel the flow, feel like what's really going on, and with a little bit of understanding of what the stock is and how it's performed, like kind of like your theory is being validated by what you're seeing in the level two, and that's the best way to use it, um, in my opinion.
Great stuff. Let's do one more question here.
I want to
Um,
ask one.
what's up?
There's one that I want to hear your guys'.
Which which one is it? Because there's one I want to ask. I think it's really good, but I think we might
It's
have the
from
same one.
Stackalope.
Yes,
Yeah, do it.
that's a good question. Stackalope asks, you started roughly around the same years and learned from the same stuff from the same place. Why did Jack grow so much more? Tell us, Kellogg. Give us the secrets.
You guys go first. I want to see what you guys
what
think.
if we all went first?
Yeah, that's.
I like that better.
I almost was joking to ask Kellogg first. Yeah, it's probably better if we answer. So, my first thought is two things. One is a bit of talent. One is a bit of hard work. And I don't say talent as to write at Jack off of like, oh, he's just talented. Like if I had that talent, not at all. What I mean by this is like let's compare this to almost any endeavor.
Profession.
Yeah, profession. Let's say instead of trading, we're marathon runners. One of us four is going to be better than the other. Just by human nature, how we're built, how we're wired. One of us, and maybe not be tremendously better, maybe not be multiple times better, but one of us is going to clearly excel. So there's that aspect. On the more, I think the more heavier weighted aspect is, I haven't seen anyone more willing to learn from almost anyone they talk to more than Kellogg. And I don't say that as like me, Huddy, or Dom are not willing to learn from people we talk to. But Kellogg, I've seen people Kellogg be friends with someone who I didn't even know existed. He's like, yeah, he taught me how to place orders here. I'm like, who's this guy? Like, I never heard of him, So I think he's done an incredible job of absorbing as much as he can from pretty much anyone he talks to. On top of that, he just has a really great tolerance for risk. I'll never forget in the COVID market when him and I traded almost everything extremely similarly. And we had an ongoing joke that's still true to this day of like, he's usually 2 to 3 times bigger size than I am. How he got there, that's really the only question I think Kellogg can answer. But like, it's just a level of risk acceptance that you have innately, or have worked on. And he's just gotten to that level for himself. So.
Yeah, I tend to agree with everything Kyle said. I think it comes down to just a few small things that can be the difference, in so much with the market. I don't know where to go from this. It is just what I just think professionally, there's such a small margin that can separate you by so much. Like you look at like the sixth man in a basketball team in the NBA, and there's not a lot that separates that guy from someone that didn't get drafted. And when you get to our level, it's the small things, and it's Jack was willing to continue to pursue new ideas, new strategies. He has so many friends and has networked so well in the community, and is willing to implement them and do so in a fast period of time, and not the way that we would normally implement, where it's like start out with tiny risk and do it for 6 months. Jack could implement it tomorrow if Gertani gave him a good idea over the weekend, and he would feel comfortable doing so. He has, I think, more trust in himself than anyone I've really ever met. You can just see it in the way he carries himself and talks. Like he believes whatever he does, like even if he fails or screws up, like he will learn from it immediately. He's not the guy to make the same mistake twice. Like he makes the mistake, he learns from it, and he doesn't make it again. And that's why you don't hear him having the same diary sessions that I have every other week on here. And I also think it is just natural, like he's doing what he was supposed to be doing, and he's really, really good at it. And he has that curiosity and passion to do more and to continue to learn and be better. And he's not complacent. And I think it shows every market cycle, every month, every year that that's true.
I agree and disagree with both of you. As far as his risk tolerance, I think that's kind of grown with his account. But I think for me, just on the sidelines, kind of watching his whole journey, and Dom, you've had a pretty good insight too. And I do think Jack is a very quick learner, asks good questions, allows himself to be coachable and teachable, and knows when that moment is, right? Knows who he's talking to, and what the connection is. But for me, like the one thing I've always noticed about Jack is his competitive nature. He wants to be the best. It's in his blood. It's whenever Grittani made, X amount of money, Jack would relate how much percentage wise he did to Kellogg or to Grittani and how many years he'd been traded. And he said, okay, well, if I do this for a year, like, F you, Grittani, I'm gonna be smashing your numbers, right? Like there's always been this competitive drive with Kellogg to really truly want to strive to be the best, to prove to the world that he is who he is, that the person that he knows he is. And it stems from a lot of self-confidence, which is again like why I agree with Dom as well. Like all of the best traders I know have an immense amount of self-confidence, right? But then also I think Jack always wanted to prove to himself and to the world that he can be the best at a lot of different things. It's not just the market that he's also the best at. Like I don't want to say them all, but I don't know if you guys have ever played Call of Duty with the guy, but he's the best. But I know that sounds silly, but it is reflective on his work ethic, which goes back to what Kyla was saying. When he's passionate about something and he's got drive behind it, he's going to work at it, but harder than anyone else is going to work at it because he wants to be the best, right? And like for me, when I got into stock trading, I never wanted to be the best. I wanted to figure it out and make money and not have a 9 to 5. I never wanted to beat Dux's numbers. I never wanted to beat Grittani's numbers. If it happened, great. But I knew I wasn't putting the work to do that, in the moment. I was putting in the work to just be the next millionaire student of Tim Sykes. My aspirations were never that high. So I think that's the biggest difference, right? It's mentality at the end of the day, but it's, what is his character really striving to do? And now maybe Jack can answer.
Last thing before Jack answers, what reminded me of, Huddy, when you said how competitive he is and competing against Grittani, so to speak. The funniest thing happened after our Boston boot camp. We were all trading together, and we're trading ICCT, and all of us are pretty much have a position. I think except Dom. All of us are short except Dom. And Grittani comes in late. He kind of trading from his phone. He wasn't trading live with us.
He was in the other room, I think.
Yeah, he's just
trading from his phone.
He finally
because we were recording.
Yeah, finally comes in and starts talking to us, and we all just talk about, what's our averages, how much size.
I laughed so hard.
And Kellogg's like, oh, hey, Grittani, like, where are you short from, and how much size? And I don't even know what the number was, but Grittani says something like 3x bigger than Kellogg. And me and Huddy
No.
well, yeah, do you
like,
remember?
I think Kellogg had like 7,000 shares short, and then Grittani came in and said, yeah, I have it was either 15,000 or 25,000. It was one of the two.
Multiples bigger, and me and Huddy started dying laughing because Kellogg's face was just like,
Just
what? just pure blasphemy what he just heard. Like he couldn't believe it. So it was hilarious. So that's just
because no one beats his size. And like I'm telling you, like whenever Jack knows I'm in a good position, the first question he goes is, how much size you got? And then like I feel like immediately if I tell him my size, he adds size. Like he just wants to have more size than me, because he wants to make more money, and for whatever reason he can. And it's just that's what I've noticed.
Yeah, I think those were all really good answers from all of you. Like I think all of you had like a pretty key point there in different terms that kind of does like make it up. But what I kind of want to talk about is like the why, like why I'm like that, because all these guys summed it up in terms of like the how, I guess. But the why, one thing that it really stems from is actually just being in Michigan with Dom. And I had made some money. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. I made some money in January and February or I made some money in 2018, like just a little bit, started growing my account. And then in February 2019, I made like 50,000 in that month. And it was a great month for Dom too. He made great money. Everything was great. And then for the next, like the months after that, I was sitting in Dom and I's apartment, no car. Dom was there and it was great and we had fun and we did other things, but he had another life, and I mean, a lot of the times I was just kind of there and I just had like a lot of time to think and think about the market. And I'm like, damn, man, I just wish I got another opportunity. Like, please just give me one more opportunity. And it was just like pent up, like over months and months and months, like just this pent up ambition to want to trade really hard because I saw what it yielded me in February of 2020, or February of, holy shit, 2019, not even 2020s. And literally like half the money I made in 3 years of trading was made in 30 days. And like, that never went away. Like I constantly had that thought in my mind. So then, 2020 started, and obviously we all know what happened with the market, right? And that's how I was willing to push my risk tolerance. That's how I was willing to push my work ethic and push the talent that I had and really just zone in on what was in front of me, because I know what was in front of me. And I think I knew this more than anyone, was like, this is not going to last. Like this market is not going to last. It is eventually going to all go back to shit, just like it was in periods of 2016, periods of 2017, periods of 2019. So from that January of 2020 to, a little bit after, like the next like 12 to 15 months, I just pushed so hard. And like, if you guys think about it, that's when, I made 75%, 80% of my money in those months, right? And narrowing it down even more, 2 of those months is when I made 40% of my total money. 3 of those months is when I made, 50%. So it was like I knew that was coming, but I wanted that number, that where it was like I made X amount of my money in this short period of time, to be so absurd, right? And that's what I was chasing, was these absurd numbers, because I saw other guys doing it. I saw Gertani do it. I saw Dux do it. I saw Lucas do it. I saw Lance do it. All these, bigger traders, these 8-figure guys. And that's like the why I really went for it. And then all these little things along the journey, little tidbits and stuff that I did, was what got me to where I am now. And now I think why I make more money now is just because I have more capital. I'm not necessarily working, like, I can admit it, I'm not working as hard as all the traders out there. Like there's guys that are working way harder than me right now, and I know that. But with my excess capital, like I can just, from that training that I did through those, months and years prior, it's still, you have that forever. You have that experience forever. So I'm able to work less hard and still make really good returns because I put in the work before, because I pushed myself before. It comes over to these times now.
Amazing. Yeah,
All right, guys.
The one thing I'll add is just it was what, 6 million in 6 months of 2021, like half your career, just 6 month period. It's just the window of opportunity there was tremendous, and you nailed it.
6 months, yeah, 10% of my overall career, 50% of my money, and 10% of my career.
Right.
80% of your money is made in 20% of your trades. It's the same idea, guys.
Yeah. Well, alrighty.
All right, guys.
You want to close it out, Huddy?
I'm gonna do my best impression of the Dominic. If you guys like this show, you guys want to keep it free, you guys want to keep tuning in, just tell your friends, share the channel when you hop on, hit the like button. Anything you guys do to help boost the channel is great for us, and it's great for you guys. So let's keep that mutual relationship here. And I hope everyone maybe learns something about trading, learn something about themselves, or whatever it is. Where it's our honor to be here, and it's fun. It's really fun. It's like we all get together and we have all these trading conversations, and you never know what kind of gold nuggets are going to be said from just the random conversation that we talk about. It's always great around a round table with us, and we try to make it as public as possible. But that's it from us. If you guys like Wine Wednesday, if you guys want more trading content, clovertrading.io at our website. We do webinars twice a week. We talk about trading. We do trade alerts. We do watch lists. We're predominantly small cap traders. We don't trade ETFs. We don't trade big cap. We don't trade all that stuff. But if you guys want to learn more about small cap market dynamics, that's the place to be. We'll be here every Wednesday night, every morning at 8:45 a.m. We do Good Morning Nasdaq. Dom and I are live on the YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. You'll get a notification every time that we go live, and you'll be able to tune in the morning. Kind of get your head around the gappers, understand the directional bias of what most of them have. We've been nailing them there. We will continue to do that. It's fun for us. Jack usually joins us. Kyle on Wednesdays. And we're just trying to help bring value to the community. And the most that we ask for is a simple like in the channel, a subscribe, a share. Till next time, guys, we much love. We will see you soon.
Later, everybody. Peace.
Badass, Huddy.